Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well? Yeah. Um, so, my name is Julia, and for the next 30, maybe 25 minutes, we will be talking with you about game analytics, in particular, how to choose and integrate analytics for your game's growth. But before we go deep into detail, I would like to tell you a little bit about my background and how the idea for this presentation has been born. I'm working at a game analytics platform called Devtodev, but you can relax. I'm here not to tell you about our product. The thing why I'm standing here is because for the last 6 years, I've been talking with the game developers at the point when they were choosing their analytics setup. And with many of them, we had very deep conversations, and they shared their challenges, what they're afraid of, some risks they find in choosing one or another setup. And I summed it up all here in this presentation for you, so you can make the right choice and avoid common mistakes. This is the agenda for today. It covers the 5 basic steps that you would take when choosing and integrating analytics. First of all, you would need to analyze your needs in product analytics, why you need it, what daily tasks it will help you to solve. Then you would choose your setup and tools. And later you would create a data tracking plan or a list of custom events, which will be really, really helpful for you. Then the next step would be implementing these events, of course, conducting testing. And finally, and really critical step, you would need to merge all data sources from multiple platforms into one single organized view, because that's really important for making quick and data-driven decisions. All right. We can start with this agenda, but first I will tell you a really little story from my work. This summer I was giving a trial of our platform to one pretty big game developer, which I cannot name, of course. But the point is that their analytical department was really excited. They really loved our platform and they wanted to continue using it. But the positive decision, was blocked by a game producer who justified it, quote, our games do not need analytics because of our impeccable intuition. We know how to create cool games, we know our players, and just free Unity analytics would be fine for us, so we are good to go. I truly believe that every opinion has the right to be, but if you're aiming at a long-term success rather than virality, then you would need product analytics. And you would need to rely not only on your gut feeling, which is great, but you would also need to rely on data. So, returning to our presentation structure. First of all, you would need to understand that product analytics is vital for your long-term success. It will help you to understand your full player's journey from the moment they install your game to completing tutorial, watching ads, making their first and second purchase, and finally churning. And when you know this user flow, you can actually answer a lot of questions. For example, you can identify effective and ineffective user acquisition channels. You can analyze, you can define patterns of behavior of different segments of users and use this information to personalize their experience. You can identify points of growth in your game. Sometimes these are really, really small places in your game, which are super easy to, change and get some results. You would also be able to A/B test your growth hypothesis and check the statistics once the feature is released for the full audience. So, but to be able to perform all these tasks in your daily work, you would need analytics platform. So the second step is choosing your setup and tools. And broadly speaking, there are 2 types of analytics setups. There are in-house and also ready off-the-shelf solutions, which can be free and paid. And here on the screen, you can see quite a big variety of different tools available on the market. And I'm not here to agitate you to choose one or another, because it's very personal choice. It depends a lot on your experience, on your company's size and budget. But what I want to, my aim here is to give you some food for thought and some ground for informed decisions so that you know what are the pros, what are the cons, what are the risks. So first of all, we will be talking about in-house analytics. And sometimes when I talk to developers and I ask, and they tell me we have in-house analytics, sometimes they actually have Excel file with some numbers. And I hope that this is not your case. In this presentation by in-house, I mean the following framework. We have some application. It sends user data to your database. Then you make some queries to the database. Also, some visualization tools such as Tableau, for example, or Power BI are attached to your database to bring this data insights into a visual form. And of course, the most important thing about in-house setup, the best thing about it is that it's the most flexible setup possible. Really, no other setup can beat it. No ready solution can beat it. Also, once the in-house system is set up, it's relatively low cost to maintain it. But at the same time, there are two things that you need to keep in mind. First of all, in-house development would consume like really a lot of resources from you that you could spend on actually developing your main product, which is your game, because you would need to build a lot of things from scratch. There are no ready dashboards, there are no ready segments, filters in-house. You would need to build everything from scratch. There are also no native integrations with other tools that you're going to use. So this would really require like months or, let's be realistic, sometimes years to develop. And the second thing to consider is the slow speed of decision making. Because to operate in-house, you would need to have an analyst that knows SQL or Python. And there is a risk that analyst can become a bottleneck in your workflow. Let's illustrate this with, oh, no, sorry, it's a bit different slide. So first of all, before that, I want to ask you a question, but you don't have to answer it loud. Just think about it. Last time you had some question and you needed help from your analyst. How long did it take them to build a visualization for them? Was it like 5 minutes or was it 1 day, 2 days? If you're working in a big company, sometimes it really can take days. And here's some proof. This is actually statistics from the Adventum agency, and it shows that most product teams wait for more than several days to obtain results from the BI team or from analysts. And this slows down your decision-making process. It's not how it should be. And ready solutions can solve this problem, but let's look why actually this happens, like why it's so slow with in-house. So, for example, we have a game producer that has a question, pretty easy one, like what is the average time to complete a location or level in your game? They go to an analyst and they ask like, hey, could you please bring me these insights? So analyst makes an SQL query and visualizes the results to a game producer. And this would take possibly like 2 days, let's say. Why it takes so long? Because it's not like an easy thing. You need to actually like write an SQL query, visualize it, and also there is a whole bunch of other people like I don't know, game designer, marketing manager. They're standing in the line to an analyst and they also want to get some insights. So that is why analyst in this scheme becomes kind of a bottleneck in your workflow. And that is why I like this quote by a growth manager at Instacart. If you're data-driven, but every single request has to go through an analyst, then you're actually not data-driven. So let's see how ready solutions can solve this problem. We have, like, again, game producers, same question, but we have also a ready analytics platform, and they can go to this platform and build these reports by themselves. They don't need analysts for these easy questions. At the same time, analyst has more time to focus on more complex tasks, to build, I don't know, machine learning, some models, or really answer some complex questions that are worth their attention, that are worth their time. So now let's talk about pros and cons of ready analytics platforms. The most beautiful thing about it is undeniably data accessibility and easy setup that can be completed really in like a couple of days, okay, in a week sometimes. But at the same time, its biggest disadvantage is that it's not flexible to the extent that in-house setup is flexible for you. And what to do with it? I've collected some recommendations for you, what you can do to not to be too much limited by ready analytics platform if you decide to go with one. First of all, every analytics platform on the market has demo projects. So use this chance, go to their website, go to their demo projects and check what they have there, like what reports are already prepared, what segments they have, what filters they have, what cohorts they have, whether they have formulas and SQL editor. That's also important because these are tools that would be crucial for deep data analytics. For example, you may be surprised, but many ready analytics solutions have SQL already integrated in their interface. So to the left here, for example, you can see BigQuery, probably familiar for some of you. But also to the left, you can see here some ready solutions like Amplitude or Devtodev, where you can also find like SQL editors and you can write direct queries to their database and extract some necessary data. And usually these features are really appreciated by analysts in the team. Okay, next thing to consider, limits. In ready solutions, there are always some limitations. So go to the documentation and check them. This can be limits on the number of custom events, on users per account, on the number of steps in the funnel, on the number of parameters, and so on and so forth. So just be sure to check this in advance. Also, if you need different access rights to data among your company, make sure that the system of your choice supports this option, that you can put different access rights to different teams and team members. As well, raw data, also very important thing. Make sure you can export raw data and that you also check the number of days or months that raw data is stored in the analytics system. And of course, check available native integrations. That's also important because it will save you a lot of time. You will not need to struggle with API of tools if you have native integrations. Okay, now imagine we have chosen our analytics setup that is right for you, for your company size, for your budget. It's time to create a data tracking plan, or simply put a list of custom events that you're going to track. And so what are events? Events are this kind of data points or any action that you can track, that your user performs, and that you can later use in a conversion funnel or in a user flow to see your user journey. Common events in games are, let's say, tutorial step, level up, progression of locations, in-game shop open. If you need some inspiration, you can ask me later to send you this presentation, because here I left you a link here, like it's a magic link, because there you can find prepared events for different game genres. So maybe it will be a good inspiration for you. However, there are also recommendations that you can use to build your own events. And these are, first of all, define your key events or what you expect your users to do. For example, you may expect them first to sign up, to finish tutorial, to make their first in-app purchase, make a second in-app purchase. These are your key essential events that you need to track. The next step would be to decide what is going on around these events. So, for example, if a user, you want to track a user making a purchase, you should also track how they come there, what precedes this key event and what goes after. For example, before making a purchase, users may open an in-game shop, they may choose a category of items, scroll down the list and only then make a purchase. And all of this can be tracked as different events. But the tip here is not to collect all possible data, because collect only the data that you need actually for making decisions, not to turn your analytics into some mess. Some tips on naming events and parameters. It's pretty simple, just go with the standard example like object action, for example, booster used, or character created, or store open. Also, along with events, you can send parameters. Parameters are contexts that you can send along with events. They give some details about your events. For example, an event can be booster used, and then in parameter you specify which type of booster was used. Maybe it was a potion, a bomb, something else, or maybe you want to specify on which level this booster has been used. You can also put this in parameters. It's a really good thing to use these parameters, and the mistake that many developers make, they, like in the example below, they put the value of the parameter in the event name, and then they come up with a list of like 1,000 unique custom events at the moments where they could have just 100 custom events plus parameters. So my recommendation would be, do not forget about parameters. Like, use them, and then you will come up with a more optimal event structure. Also, one more tip. Before integrating system, if it's already one, check what predefined basic events are already available there. Many analytics systems, especially those that are specializing in games, may have game-specific events pre-written for you. Oh, oops. So this can be such events as payment for real money, payment for virtual currency, level up, change in game location, tutorial steps. So you just need to copy this piece of code from the documentation and pass it in your game. You don't need to invent anything. Some systems go even further, and they make automatically generated events. This can be install, add impression, push send, push click, subscription. But again, this is very system specific, so just make sure you read the documentation carefully before integrating, so you do not create duplicates of what is already pre-written for you in the analytics platform. Okay, now that we know what to track, we've defined the events that we need to track, let's focus on how it can look like. And my suggestion would be not to think too much and go with simple Google spreadsheets for this purpose, to put all your event list in one place. Just make sure that your document contains the following information: app version, screen in which this action takes place, trigger for sending an event, event name, parameters, very important, and the description. So here you can see an example that actually our in-house analysts sometimes use. So feel free to make screenshots, use it for your own purposes. Many developers also ask me, how long will it take to integrate analytics? And there is no one definite answer, but I can give you some examples from people that we work with. For example, here's an example of Remy Vision Studio. It's a Polish game developer, and they have a match 3 game in their portfolio. And they say for the first time when they were integrating Devtodev, it took them around 16 hours. But if you do this not for the first time, it would take twice less, so basically 15 hours. It's quite quick. You can complete it in a couple of working days. Yeah, of course, it's, again, it would depend on your game complexity. If you have a hyper-casual game, it can take 5 hours maybe. If you have super complex mid-core game with lots of details, lots of custom events to track, it may take you longer. So it's very personal, but I wanted to give you some orienters. All right, now the next step is to implement these events in your game and conduct testing. Just make sure that events actually come into your analytics platform, check the logs, go to some reports, check that you can build what you need. And we're moving to the last part of this presentation, which is merging data from multiple sources into one platform. So, once you have chosen your analytics platform, decide on other tools that you're going to use. Maybe you're going to use also attribution platforms such as Adjust or AppsFlyer, some ad mediation platform, push notification service, A/B testing service, I don't know, in-app messaging tool, A/B testing tool, subscriptions tracker if you have subscriptions. So think about how all these tools can be connected between each other, if they have integration between each other. That's very important because it will save you a lot of time. Also, if you have noticed some tools here in the list, these are just some examples popular in the market. Some of them perform several functions at the same time. So maybe it's a good idea to choose one tool for several purposes, so your analytics setup is more, light. It's very useful also once you've decided on the tools, just to take a paper or open your laptop and draw a scheme of how these tools are going to be connected to each other. For example, here we have like a very basic scheme. It's an imaginary iOS Android app, and we have their analytics platform integrated. We have their A/B testing tool, push notifications tool, attribution platform, and ad mediation platform. And you can see that they're connected between each other, sometimes even both ways. And this both-way communication between tools is very important. I can illustrate you with just one example. For example, if in your analytical platform, you've identified a segment of users that, let's say they were paying users but haven't paid for a while, and you want to make them a special offer to activate them, to return them to this payment status. So you want to send them a push notification with a special offer. You need to be sure that from your analytical platform, you can send this information to your push notification service, and that your analytical platform would also know that you send a push, so you can later analyze the flow of users after they have received the push, whether it was successful, whether it actually reached the goal that you were planning to. If you are using ready analytics solutions, these connections between tools are pretty easy, but in some cases, if there are no native integrations, it would require some work with API, but it's also manageable. All right, so I think we actually covered all of the most frequently asked questions when integrating product analytics in your game. And if you have some questions, I'm happy to answer. I also encourage you to add me on LinkedIn, and I'm always open for chat. Thank you. There's a question. Yeah. Okay.
There is one. So the question is, your presentation, I kind of read it as a presentation for mobile games mostly. Do all this apply to PC or consoles too?
Mm-hmm. That's actually a great question, because I've been discussing it at this conference with many people. We had an impression that PC games and console games are not that interested in analytics because most of them are premium, right? So when a user purchase this game, that's it. The mission of the developer is completed, and they do not need to track what is going on later, right? They already received the money. But there is a trend on the market, I think, that more and more PC games are actually becoming free to play, or they are releasing some updates, they are releasing some additional content that you can buy. So in that sense, analytics is becoming crucial, right? And I think, okay, my guess is that actually this is the future for PC games and console games as well, that they would be more and more heavily dependent on analytics. And speaking about technically, yes, you can integrate many product analytics platform into console games, in PC games. We ourselves, we have clients with PC games, and they use our platform. So yes, why not? If you, as a developer, are interested in what is going on inside your game, how people pass levels, how they pass locations, how they interact with the content, what they like, what they probably find not that attractive, then go with analytics, yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. There is one more question.
Sorry, if you can repeat the name of your platform?
It's Devtodev.
Devtodev, that's the name of the platform itself.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
And the question is now, well, we do analytics quite extensively. Like, we basically track every single event in the game. If somebody builds something, somebody buys something and stuff. But we use Google Analytics. They turn them down next year. Now I need to switch. But I wonder if you ever experience any team that tried to auto-balance the game based on analytics. I mean, like, if there are players choosing option A 80% of the times rather than option B, then if we can integrate the game with the analytics so that the game takes the data from the analytics and auto-balance themselves. Not only deliver the data to the analytics and then analytics guy check it, but the game itself can check it and auto-balance itself.
So we're talking here about some automated personalization, right, of the content? Kinda,
but actually what I mean is if I want to auto-balance the game, balance the game and say well, if, for example, even load balance, what the players do in the game, where are they, what they do, I could use analytics instead of my own servers to do that. But I wonder if any platform delivers this kind of functionality.
Well, we can definitely check it with our developers. I cannot think of some case that our platform has been used this way to auto-balance a game. Probably no, but there are always this, this technical hooks that you can use, like maybe pass some information in some format. So we could chat about it. Like, I will give you my business card now, okay? Good. Okay, it's time. They're showing me it's time. So if you have questions, you can catch me. I'm happy to chat.